Greetings, dear friends. Bonjour y buenos días. Today, above all, I want to give my condolences to those of you who may have lost a loved one in the pandemic. In PEN, we are always aware of the fragility of human life as we try to protect those who are jailed, in exile, or living with risk. Our case list often feels like both a dirge and a list of the bravest people on earth. Today, risk includes the pandemic, and those writers who are jailed are likely to be more vulnerable to the disease and human rights violations, including the denial of necessary medical care. PEN International reiterates its call on all governments to immediately and unconditionally release all writers imprisoned for the legitimate expression of their views. I would also like to take this moment to honor Sir Ronald Harwood, Emeritus President of PEN International, who died this past September. He was PEN President from 1993 to 1997. This means that Harwood headed PEN during the most difficult years of the Salman Rushdie fatwa and welcomed Rushdie to the Congress in Santiago de Compostela in 1993. Less than a month later, William Nygaard, the Norwegian publisher of the Satanic Verses, was shot outside of his home. To add to Harwood's PEN biography, I'd like to remember that he was also involved in the Ken Saro-Wiwa case, which still stands today as one of our most heartbreaking cases. Harwood was also president in June 1996, when 61 NGOs, 41 PEN centers, and 40 experts in linguistic rights from all over the world met in Barcelona to proclaim the Universal Declaration of Linguistic Rights. During these months, where one feels that nothing is happening and everything is happening, we spend our days social distancing, behind face masks, and missing the physical presence of so many of the people we love. I have thought about how the plague appears in both history and literature. The oldest known victim of a plague was found in the excavation of a Swedish tomb in 2018 and was discovered to harbor evidence of Yersinia pestis within the interred human remains. The estimated date of this individual's death belongs to the period known as Neolithic decline, about 3,500 years BC AD. In these days, many of us in PEN have been asked to write our experiences during this new plague. PEN Portugal, for example, has made a call for manuscripts toward an anthology. And no doubt, COVID-19 will play an important role in the literature of our times. In novels, plays, and poems, plagues appear everywhere. I'd forgotten until a few months ago, for example, that it is because of a plague that Romeo does not receive the letter, which will inform him that Juliet has not died, but has instead only taken a sleep potion. The plague Shakespeare refers to here was an Italian plague of 1630 in Lombardy and the Veneto, which killed over 280,000 people. The messenger who carried the letter cannot leave a city when it is suddenly placed under quarantine and no one is allowed to leave. Because of this, the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet and their inescapable fate unfolds. I've also thought about Sophocles in Oedipus the King, which opens with the city of Thebes ravaged by plague. And I quote, "And all the city reeks with incense smoke, for this our city, as thine eyes may see, is sorely tempest-tossed." Homer's Iliad begins with a plague visited upon the Greek camp at Troy to punish the Greeks for Agamemnon's enslavement of Chryseis. The plague sets the tone of the book with these words. Rage, sing, goddess, Achilles' rage. So the god struck the Greek camp with plague, and the soldiers were dying of it. The Decameron, written in 1353 by Giovanni Boccaccio, is about 10 people who are isolated outside of Florence to survive the Black Death. As time passes, these fearful souls take turns telling stories about love, morality, and power, and slowly reveal the lives that have been stopped because of the pandemic. The opening pages, the narrator asks, "What do we hear? What look we for? What dream we?" I'm asking myself these questions daily. In these months, many of us have also reread Albert Camus' The Plague, which I had read at university years ago and have not looked at since. In the book, one character says, "It's impossible it should be the plague. Everyone knows it has vanished from the West." Yes, everyone knew that, the character Dr. Rieu replies, except the dead. While these words are both ironic and ominous, this novel does not seek to fill us with fear. To the contrary, the book is about the need to console each other in our common sorrow. In the novel, the doctor, who takes care of patients infected by the plague, says, "This whole thing is not about heroism. It may seem a ridiculous idea, but the only way to fight the plague is with decency." Another character asks what decency is. "Doing my job," the doctor replies. In Penn, we understand this answer as we, like the good doctor, are doing our job, and it's the only decent thing to do. Thank you.